Hey Sean, what's up? How you doing today? Happy Friday. Hello Robert. Hello Troy. Happy Friday to everybody. Hello to Bud Files. Happy Friday. Well, that's cool, Sean. Hello to Hazel and Dad. Happy Friday. Hope you're doing well. Hello Troy. Happy Friday. Hello to Daisy May. Oh wow, Robert. I I love to pray for people. I think one of the greatest way you can show somebody that you care for them is to pray for them. But I even more so than praying for somebody, I think it's important to pray with somebody when you can. And so I just like to take this time to pray with Robert. He's facing a tough surgery come this Tuesday, so prayers for the best for Robert. Anybody else that believes, I encourage you to pray with me. Uh, but dear Heavenly Father, God, we thank you for this day. God, we thank you for Robert. God, that he's a blessing to us. Lord, he's a supporter of so many channels. He's there. He shows up. And God, I pray that you show up in his situation. God, that you would minister to his hip on Tuesday when he goes to the doctor. And God, I pray you touch the doctor's hands. And Lord, just may everything be a success. God, and just restore him back to his normal health. And Lord, help him have a speedy recovery. And Lord, during this time of waiting to recover, I pray that you'll teach him. Lord, that no minute to get wasted, no time to get wasted, but it'll be an opportunity for growth, and I pray for that. I pray for each one that's here right now in each individual life. We all have needs, and God, I pray you meet needs for safety, for healing, for salvation, whatever the need is. We all have needs, and I lift them up to you and ask you to minister to each situation. It's in Jesus' name I pray and believe. Amen. Hello to Fever Dream. Happy Friday. Hello, Nature Dog. If I missed anybody else, Waffles. Hello, Waffles. I appreciate everybody. Pre-retirement days. Anybody I may have missed. Uh, hello to Junebug Lynn. Here's something that's down in the future for me to read. It's a July, the topic. But since I'm talking about prayer, Robert has a need for prayer. We all have a need for prayer. And all prayer is I'm just a simple person. And to me, I just break down as prayer as talking to God. Just like I'm talking to y'all right now. Prayer is just talking to God. And this little short devotion talks about the quiet place of prayer. It says prayer is worship. You know, prayer is part, there's a lot to prayer. I said prayer is just talking to God, but it is so much more than that. Prayer is worship. It's letting God know that you love him. Just like if you have a husband, if you have a wife, if you have a child, or you have a boyfriend, girlfriend, or just family members, you know, you let them know you love them, or you should. And the same is true with God. You ought to let him know that you love him, because he definitely loves you. And part of the way we can let God know that we love him is through prayer, just talking to God. Prayer is worship. To me, worship is letting God know that you love him, whether it be through a song or through prayer, or just talking to him like I am now. But prayer is worship. Our praying should be full of adoration. Adoration. Y'all know when you talk about stuff being adorable, or you adore something, you know, we ought to adore the Lord more than anything. Full of adoration, affection, and fondness for God, that he is who he is. You know, how do I get to know you, or how do you get to know me? Hello to Sydney Cat. Anybody else I may have missed? I get to talking, I don't look at the chat so much, so I'm not ignoring you. I'm just reading. And but you know, how do we get to know God? It's just like how we get to know each other. Like anything that you've learned about me, you learned it from talking to me. Same way with me about you. Just, you know, being around you, listening to you, learning from you. And how do we know about God? You know, how do I know what I know about God? Is from getting into his word. He reveals himself through his word about who he is. You know, it ain't something I just make up, or I listen to what, you know, somebody else said about God, but I get into his word and see what he says about who he is. And you know, that's what part of prayer is just adoring him, being affectionate and fond of him for that he is who he is, that he created us in order to have someone on whom he could shower his love, that he stretched out his arms on the cross, that he intends in the fullest sense to make whole men and women out of us. In worship, as the old word worth, ship, W-O-R-T-H, and ship, S-H-I-P, implies, we declare what we value the most. You know, what do we value the most? It's one of the best ways in the world to love God. Prayer is the highest expression of our dependence on God. You know, prayer is letting God know that you need him. You know, without God, we can do nothing. You know, if you woke up this morning, he gave you the breath that you have. You know, he gave me the ability to walk where I'm standing right now. You know, he gave me the eyes that I'm looking at these clouds like y'all are. You know, it points back to God, the source of, you know, we've got to give him credit. and let him know that we need him. God don't need us. Sometimes people act like that God needs us. God don't need us, but we need him. And prayer is the highest expression of our dependence on God. It is asking for what we want. That's part of it. It's not all it is to it, because if you have a child, or know people that do, if all they've done all the time was ask their parent for something, that's the only communication that they had with their parent, that wouldn't be healthy. Just constantly asking, asking, asking. And God does want us to ask. He says to ask, seek, and knock. But there's so much more to prayer than just asking. But that is part of prayer, asking for what we want. We can ask for anything, even the most difficult things. Do not be anxious about anything, but in every situation, by prayer and petition, with thanksgiving, present your request to God. Philippians chapter 4, verse 6. Hello to Mike Schreiber Ministries. Appreciate you stopping by. Anything large enough to occupy our minds is large enough to hang a prayer on. All right, Troy, I appreciate you stopping by. You have a great weekend. Oh yeah, there's two Troys. I just now realized there's two Troys, not in the house because I'm outside, but two Troys in the chat. I got confused for a minute there. Anything large enough to occupy our minds is large enough to hang a prayer on. Troys will be Troys. Kind of like boys will be boys, but it's Troys will be Troys. Y'all have to overlook me sometimes. Anything large enough to occupy our minds is large enough to hang a prayer on. Prayer, however, by its nature is requesting. It's not insisting or clamoring. We can make no demands of God or deals with him. Friends don't make demands. Friends don't make demands. They ask and then they wait. We wait with patience and submission or obedience until God gives us what we request or something more. I love looking at the clouds. Prayer is asking for understanding. How many times during the day I just don't understand, but part of prayer is asking for understanding. It's the means by which we comprehend what God is saying to us in the scriptures. Prayer focuses and unites our fragmented hearts. In the quiet place of prayer, God comforts. Hello to Madden Morris. I appreciate you stopping by. Madden been jump roping. Let's see. In the quiet place of prayer, God comforts. That's right, Hammy shaved, y'all. If y'all know Hammy shaved. I guess I shouldn't reveal that. Y'all should experience that for yourself. It took me a second. I was like, something's different here. And then oh yeah, this guy's clean shaven now. But I appreciate you stopping by, Hammy, and I'm thinking about, all the military as we celebrate, what Memorial Day is all about this weekend. Thinking about those that have given up their lives for our freedom. I'm thankful for that. And also thinking about their families. Because, I just mentioned about how God unites our fragmented hearts. And I think about those families that were affected by wars where, a loved one died fighting for our freedom. So to me, part of Memorial Day is remembering those that are hurting, that they've lost a brother or sister or mother or father or, relative or somebody they loved. Um, I had a classmate that died on 9/11 at the Pentagon, so I'll be thinking about her. But definitely thankful for all those that have served. Um, I try to shout out the people that are underappreciated, and definitely, our veterans and those that are in the military. They don't get enough credit. We ought to take better care of them, I believe, than we do. But I guess it could always be worse. But I know it can be better. But thank you for your service, Hammy, and all those that have served. Um, Much appreciated. But in the quiet place of prayer, God comforts, God instructs, and God listens to us. There we learn to love and worship Him. So that was just a little bit I read about prayer. The main thing, and I got to thinking about that when Robert, requested prayer. But what I was going to read originally, I was going to ask, who do you look like? I believe everybody looks like somebody, right? Whether it be our mom, our dad, you know, grandma, grandpa, somebody. And a lot of us, it's a combination, of both of our parents. But for the most part, we look like somebody else. And that was what I was wanting to read to see if I can find it. Hello to Low Key, I don't know. Thank you for stopping by. Hello to, there's another veteran, retired Navy. RNR stands for Retired Navy Rob. Uh, if y'all have never been to his channel, go check him out. Another veteran that I appreciate. I appreciate all the veterans. And thank you, Rob, for your service. Appreciate you being here. Hello to Rudini, who says Purty Sky. But my verse I was going to read is Romans chapter 13, verse 14. It says, "Clothe yourselves with the Lord Jesus Christ, and do not think about how to gratify the desires of the flesh." And the title is looking like Christ. As a child, and this is written by Arthur Jackson. So this ain't me speaking, because I wasn't around in the 1950s or 1960s, but this person was. They say, as a child of the 1950s and 60s, I grew up in the era when America's pastime was baseball. Yeah, thank you, Troy, for your service. I didn't mention Troy, Adventure America. Thank you for your service. And I generally leave people off, and I don't intentionally do that. Um, but I'm thankful for all those that have served for sure. And I know that Memorial Day is about those that are no longer with us, but we still can recognize a veteran any day of the year. Well, we should. Give credit where credit's due. But the writer says, as a child of the 50s and 60s, I grew up in the era when America's pastime was baseball. I couldn't wait to go to the park and play ball, and one of my greatest thrills was when I received my baseball jersey emblazoned with our team's name. Hello to BC. Happy Friday, man. I received my baseball jersey emblazoned with our team's name, Giants. Though the number 9 on the back distinguished me from the others, the common uniform identified us as being on the same team. So he mentions, they were different jersey numbers on the Giants, but they all played on the same team. In Matthew chapter 5, verses 3 through 10, known as the Beatitudes, and usually, when you hear about he's got an attitude or she's got an attitude, the first thing that's going to come to your mind or my mind is bad attitudes, right? When we hear attitude, we generally think of bad, on the bad, the negative of it, but there's a positive attitude, there's a good attitude, and that's what he's going to talk about here. Matthew chapter 5, verses 3 through 10, known as the Beatitudes. Jesus identifies those who belong to the kingdom of heaven as those who wear the jersey of Christ, the jersey of Christ's likeness. The kingdom of heaven is comprised of those who assume the posture and character of their king. According to Jesus, blessed persons aren't characterized by external appearance, health, or possessions. Rather, it's the inside or heart of a person that counts. Blessed are the poor in spirit, the humble, those who are spiritually needy and know it. Oh wow, Britt. How do you get stuck at the post office? Oh wow. Yeah, that's not good. When the key breaks off in the ignition, that's not good. But blessed are those who hunger and thirst. Um, Blessed are the poor in spirit, the humble, those who are spiritually needy and know it. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, those whose soul's yearning is to please and honor God. Blessed are the peacemakers. Oh, you didn't interrupt. I'm glad it's better now. Um, but blessed are the peacemakers. We live in a world that's so divided, and but blessed are the peacemakers, those who join Jesus in the pursuit of harmony. That's a lot of technical difficulties going on there. As the Spirit helps us, we can put on the garment of Christ likeness, which identifies us as believers in Jesus and members of His team. As such, we're blessed indeed. Um, the I love questions, that point back to me, like, and ask you to, self-evaluate yourself. And it says, according to the Beatitudes, how well dressed are you? What aspect of Christ likeness are you praying for? I think that's a good question. What aspect of Christ likeness are you praying for? How do I want to be more like Jesus? Hello to Stitching It Up. Appreciate you stopping by. Happy Friday. Well, you're not alone in that, Brittany. But part of the prayer, to God is, please give me grace each day by the Spirit to look like Christ. But the first 10 verses of Matthew chapter 5 says, now when Jesus saw the crowds, he went up on a mountainside and sat down. His disciples came to him, and he began to teach them. He said, blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are those who mourn, for they will be comforted. Blessed are the meek, for they will inherit the earth. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they will be filled. Blessed are the merciful, for they will be shown mercy. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they will see God. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they will be called children of God. Blessed are those who are persecuted because of righteousness, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Yet, since you mentioned that, Rudini, a lot of people fight over what Jesus looked like. Was he black? Was he white? What color he was? How long his hair was. But the most important thing, I can't tell you nothing about his hair. The Bible don't mention how long his hair was, but it does mention he had a beard, because it talks about they plucked his beard, they pulled his facial hair when he was on the cross. But as I look into the Word about Jesus, it wasn't about what he looked like on the outside. It was about what he looked like on the inside, and that's what this devotional is pretty much about. We put a lot into what we look like on the outside, and that's what we're pretty much focused on, but the more important thing is really our inside. The Sermon on the Mount is Jesus' great kingdom sermon describing what makes life in his kingdom different from life in this fallen world. While the world is marked by selfishness, you think about you early on, or me early on, or you look at a child early on in their lives, they're probably the word they say more than anything else. If they've got a sibling or a cousin or somebody's mine, they're going to be fighting over some toys. They're going to be saying mine. And why is that? It's because of a selfish nature, that we're born with. But hopefully as we get older, we realize it ain't right to be selfish, but we live in a world that's very selfish. The world is marked by selfishness, self-promotion, self-gratification. All right, Stitching It Up, I appreciate you stopping by. I hope you have a great weekend. Hello to the Rushmore Show. Kurt, good to see you. See you. I mean, y'all don't know that I can't see you. So maybe I shouldn't have said see you. You know, we do have a lot of technology these days. I may be looking at y'all right now. Y'all may be looking at me. I might have should have brushed my hair. Let's see. While the world is marked by selfishness, self-promotion, self-gratification, you know, you go to a library, you know, which I know not as many people go to libraries anymore, but a lot of the books is about self-gratification. But the kingdom of God is characterized by selflessness. Selflessness. That was the life of Jesus. Unselfish. Every act that Jesus ever done while he walked this earth was unselfish. It was never about him. When he was down here, it was always about doing the Father's will. And he was always looking. The book of Acts talks about he went about doing good. He was always looking to do something good for somebody else. He wasn't thinking about him. If he was thinking about himself, he wouldn't ever came to earth. He would have stayed in a perfect heaven with a perfect God and wouldn't have came down to this messed up earth. But I'm thankful that he is unselfish, and I pray that we can be unselfish as well. The kingdom of God is characterized by selflessness and self-sacrifice. Beginning with the Beatitudes, that tone is set immediately, with the remaining exposition explaining how those big ideas are lived out. And that's what I love about Jesus' Sermon on the Mount. He's up on this mountain and he's preaching, you know. So it's all about words as he's saying it. You know, he opened his mouth, he's giving the sermon of sermons, he's putting all these words out there. But then when he comes down from that mountain, he lives out. It's like a how-to. Everything he just talked about, it's a how-to. Here's how it's done. I love that. So, that tone is set immediately with the remaining exposition explaining how those big ideas are lived out. For example, hello to Jim, hello to Bethany, happy Friday. I hope y'all are doing well. Thank you for stopping by. For example, the statement, blessed are the merciful, echoes forth with the instructions Christ gives on loving our enemies. Additionally, hey, there's John Boy. I don't think I know this John Boy, but a lot of nights I say good night, John Boy. But I think that was a tribute to the Waltons guy. But I appreciate you stopping by, John Boy. Hope you're doing well. I don't remember seeing you before, but if I have, I'm sorry. It's always anybody that comes through here. I'm always honored to meet somebody new. It's cool. I like it. So, welcome, John Boy. Hello to Danielle Davis. Good to see you. See you. I always appreciate anybody that stops by, whether it's 1 second, just to say hey and got to do something else. That's totally fine. You know, I can't control whether you come by or not, but it means a lot to me that you did, that took the time. I appreciate it, and I try to encourage people, you know, as I do lives, but I find myself also getting encouraged as I encourage. It works both ways, and I appreciate that. But additionally, blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness finds connection in Matthew chapter 6, verse 33, where we're challenged to seek first his kingdom and his righteousness. As we read the Sermon on the Mount, the Holy Spirit can help us see connections that point back to the principles set forth in the Beatitudes and lead us to better reflect the ways of Christ. So, you know, when you came into this earth, you know, you didn't get to pick how you looked. I didn't get to pick how I looked. You know, God designed us. He created us. He made us. Just like he made the trees and the sun, the clouds. The book of Nahum calls the clouds the dust of his feet. I love that about God's description of clouds. He calls them the dust of his feet. But God made us. And Genesis chapter 1, he says he made Adam and Eve in his image and his likeness. So that's true of all of us. I know that sin has marred some of that image, but we're all still made in the image and likeness of God. That's why you shouldn't ever think you're better than anybody else, no matter if they're male, female, what color they are, because the same God made us all. So we shouldn't look down on others, but we should look up to Christ. And I lost my train of thought. Oh yeah, I was talking about uh, looking like, you know, we didn't control who we look like. Some of us look like our moms, some of us look like our dads, some of us look like a cross between our mom and dad. Everybody's different, unique, but we all have a resemblance. And you have no control in that. But what you do have a control in, and what I have a control in, is how we look on the inside. You know, and I think the goal ought to be to look like Christ. And get into His Word and see, where I look like Him, and keep on. It's kind of like, I don't. Madden that was in here earlier. I don't know if he's still in here, but he was working on his jump roping skills. And he started out, he wasn't going too long, but the more he done it, the practicing made progress. And I believe that can be true of us in our walk with Christ, and to look more like Him. It don't happen all at once. It happens over time. How can I be more loving today, or how can I be more merciful today, or more forgiving, or more gracious, more kind, more at peace. But there's a song I like. I don't know if y'all have ever heard it, but it's by a guy named Zach Williams, and other people have sung it. But it's called "Less Like Me," and it talks about wanting to be a little more like Jesus and a little less like me each day. And I think that's a great prayer. Since I was talking about prayer earlier, great prayer to have is, God, I don't want to look like me. You had no control in looking like your mom or your dad or your brother or your sister or whoever you look like. You had no control in that. But you do have control in whether you look like God or not. And I have that control too. And He wants us to look like Him. It's just a matter of, do we want to look like Him? Or do we want to be selfish and look like ourselves? It's been a warm day today, but as the sun has gone down, its temperature's dropping, and I feel a breeze. It feels good. It's always good to get a breeze when you're walking. Troy says it has been warm. Yeah, I know it's been warm for you, Troy. Y'all don't have no trees over there. Ain't no trees in Texas, man. The time that I went to Texas, man, where's all the trees? And I know, I've watched your videos, and I know there's trees in Texas. But not everything's big in Texas, because I don't think the trees are that big. That's just my opinion. Yeah, as it gets warmer, it gets hotter. I got to start working on my jokes. It's so hot jokes. I done forgot most of them that I remember. I had learned last year um, with my short-term memory loss. Yeah, that's my observation. I haven't been to Texas enough to really make any kind of statements, but I just remember being there and like, man, it's hot and where's the trees? Because where I'm from, when I grew up, we didn't have air conditioners. The tree, like I'm looking at this big tree right here, that's the air conditioner right there, the shade of the tree. So I remember we went on vacation in Texas in the summertime, and I'm like, where's the trees? Where's the water? Hot spelled backwards is toe. I don't know if y'all can hear the cicadas, what you want to call them, but they're singing pretty loud. But I made reference to a verse that I like, and it's in the book of Nahum in the Old Testament. It calls clouds the dust of God's feet. Yeah, that's not a true statement, Rudy. You can't believe everything you hear. I know the saying is all roads lead to Rome, but this one does not. This one definitely does not. You can't get to Rome from here. Um, but it's in Nahum, the book of Nahum. As a prophet in the Old Testament, but it calls clouds the dust of God's feet, and I always like that because I see like I think of somebody like going down a dirt road, walking down a dirt, like I'm walking now, but I'm not walking on a dirt road. But as you walk or you travel in your vehicle down a dirt road, the dust is flying, and I just picture like God. And I know God's a spirit, He don't have legs like we do, but I just picture that dust flying as God walks. But what the main thing that I get out of that, hey, I used to do that too, Brittany. Afraid you're gonna get shocked. Those power lines, they talking. But but like we look up to the clouds, but God's above them. So I kind of relate that to problems. That we have problems, but God is standing above our problems. He's bigger than our problems. We just have to look up to Him, trust Him, and be reminded that you know clouds, the dust of His feet. Yeah, we're in His image, but that goes back to what I was talking about. It's about the inside. We have emotions like God does. It ain't about the outward appearance. We have the ability to love, and we. Hello to Yoda. How are you doing today? Happy Friday. Y'all probably it's getting dark. You know, the sun has gone down. It's getting dark, so y'all probably fixing to see some fireflies or lightning bugs. I hear the frogs. Frogs are singing. The cicadas are singing. Cicadas. You say cicada, I say cicada. You say potato, I say potato, 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 cicada, cicada. Um, y'all remember John Cicada? Who said I turned left? I haven't turned left. Some kind of, I don't know what I'm looking at. It may have been roadkill. If I just showed y'all some roadkill, I'm sorry. I know people in the South have reputations maybe of eating roadkill, but I'm not that guy. Less times get tough. I ain't gonna rule it out completely. You know, times you never know. You know, I done lost what I was talking. What was I talking about? Y'all quit getting me sidetracked. Daisy Mae loves John Cicada. Yeah, I don't really remember too many of his songs, but I remember him. Just another day. That's about all I can remember. Just that one line. Roadkill poking stick. I only turn left if Siri tells me to. Not Siri. Whoever that whoever that lady is. Or maybe it's the dude, the English dude sometimes. Oh, cool. Bino's gonna donate 100 what? 100 what? I guess Bino's spamming. Don't spam Bino. I do face reveals every once in a while by accident. You just have to hang around. Bad Bino. 100 roadkill. Yeah, I had to ask what kind of denomination I'm gonna get. You know, I don't take it at face value. You know, he just said 100. 100 what? Got to be careful, guys. I would have been done showing my face for 100 Monopoly dollars. I got plenty of those. Well, you got to stay tuned, Bino. You got to be patient. Stay tuned. Same bat channel. Just stay on the same bat channel. You know, same bat time. You're not scam. I never called you scam. You never heard me say Bino was scam. You never heard me say that. So don't put words in my mouth, Bino. Bino, you're rich. We're all rich in some ways. Um, different kinds of ways. The only Bino that I know is Bino Cook. There was a guy, I think it was on ESPN back in the day. Bino, was it Bino or Dino? Bino, I think. Bino Cook. That's the only Bino I know. Brittany, Brittany's rich and dead. I'm not laughing. I ain't gonna laugh at that. Who says skunk apes? What in the world? Oh, that would be Rudini. I thought Daisy May started it at first, but she was just laughing at the phrase. I was going to show y'all the lightning bugs, fireflies. Some people say lightning bugs, some say fireflies, but I haven't seen them yet. Have y'all ever like read about cicadas or cicadas? I'm not talking about John. I'm talking about the bug. If you want to find out something interesting, read about the cicada. Potato. All right, Brittany, I appreciate you stopping by. It's always good to talk to you. And I hope it gets better for you. A lot of things seem to be not going your way, but that's part of life too. That happens. But I pray it gets better for you. And hello to your mom and your daughter. Your husband's always talking about skunk. I've never heard that phrase. That's the first time I've ever heard that word in my life. I've heard of skunks. I've heard of apes. Never heard of skunk apes. So remember that. Where's my friend? What was his name? Bino. Just hang around, Bino. You'll learn something new. It may not be from me, but it's gonna be from somebody. Tonight we learned about skunk monkeys. Skunk apes. I messed it up already. I don't know if y'all was watching. Nature Dog was at the zoo and there were some monkeys and they was making some interesting noises. Woo, 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 woo. I probably would have just spent the whole day in that one spot just listening to them. Gibbons. Gibbons. She used to be on what was it? Entertainment Tonight. Lisa Gibbons. Wasn't that her name? Lisa Gibbons. There's Olive Shay. If y'all have never checked out Olive Shay, go check her out. Um, let's see. I like what you were saying the other day, Shay, about age. But earlier, I was talking about just being around people, like I was talking about, to learn about God, you got to get into to His Word, and He reveals Himself. The more you talk to Him or allow Him to talk to you, you get to learn about Him and know Him. And it's like cool with the people in like YouTube, just getting to know a little bit about you here and there. I don't believe we should just reveal. It's not a tell-all book. But as you're around people, you pick a little bit up here and a little bit there. And Shay, this ain't the only thing I know her for. She's much more than what I'm fixing to say. But when I think of Shay, I think of snort. And you would have to have been to her channel to know what I'm talking about. I don't know if y'all have ever, you know, got tickled so much, laughed so hard that you snorted at the same time. But Miss Shay has been known to do that. But you have to go to her channel to see what I'm talking about. She knew I was gonna say it. I'm sorry I spilled the beans. Um, but you're so much more than a snort. But that is one of the first things that comes to my mind when I see your name. But I appreciate. I know life ain't all laughs. I know everything. Like Brittany was, she's had a bad day, of course. So I know she ain't gonna be laughing about a lot of that. But I do believe we can laugh more than we do. And I like that about Shay. She likes to laugh. I like to laugh, and that's something I've picked up on her. So shout out to Shay and her smile, her laughter, her snorts. But each one of y'all have something unique about you. Yeah, that's a proverb. Merry heart doeth good like a medicine, for sure. That's true. I got out of walking like for 2 solid months. I didn't go walking hardly any, and it's starting to tell on me. But I appreciate anybody that stopped by, you know, within the last ever how long it's been. I think I've been on an hour now. But anybody that stopped by, it means a lot. And I just want to encourage you, remind you that, we're all going down this road of life together. You could have been born in the 1920s or the 1820s or the 1720s. I could have been. We could have been decades apart, but God placed us all at this specific time, this specific place, for a specific reason, and I think it's part of that is just me saying, hey, you just keep going, keep the faith, don't give up. Yeah, you're going to have downs in life, but you're also going to have some highs, there's highs and lows, it's ups and downs, but just, you're not alone. I think that's a good message. that everybody needs to hear, because sometimes you may think you're alone. You're the only one going through a certain thing, or, you know, but it's good to know you're not alone. That's Jake. Hello, Jake. Are you Jake from State Farm? Whether you're Jake from State Farm or not, it doesn't matter. I appreciate you stopping by. Hello, hello to Jake. And this is the portion where I get attacked by dogs. I survived. I lived to tell. But I was already getting kind of out of breath because of the walking, and now, you know, kind of fighting off the dogs kind of take a little bit more out of me. But I was it Roy Rogers? I think it was Roy Rogers, the cowboy back in the day. Used to say, "Happy trails to you till we meet again." Right? Oh, there's a lightning bug. Can y'all see him? Firefly. First one I seen. I lost him in the clouds now. But I call them mosquitoes with flashlights. That's what I call them. But they're lightning bugs or but anyhow, yeah, the sky is cool. But happy trails to y'all till we meet again. I just want to thank everybody for stopping by. I want to remind everybody that I love everybody. I don't hate anybody, and it's all because of somebody who died for me. But good night, God bless. And I hope to see y'all again somewhere down the road. But have a great weekend, everybody. Thank you for encouraging me.